Hello, I'm Chris Sanchez, and welcome to Sonoma Views, where we talk real estate, property management, restaurants, food, what's going on in Sonoma County, and everything else. Today's topic is on property management, landlording, and specifically identifying, gotta clean the camera lens there real quick, identifying the right tenant, the right candidate for your rental property. Regarding qualification, getting a qualified tenant who's qualified and responsible. The question is, should you allow co-signers to apply for your property? Should you allow applicants to come in with a co-signer or guarantor? I can tell you that there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer. There are just pros and cons to either option, whether you do or do not. And it is based on your goals and objectives. So that's the best answer I can give you. It depends on your goals and objectives and your comfort level with overall credit risk. So dive right in here. I'll give you some pros and cons. Or first of all, just to start off, why somebody would need a cosigner to begin with. Well, one, you should establish your minimum qualifying criteria or minimum qualifying requirements. As an example, I use a 650 credit score, and the income needs to be 2.5 times the monthly rent. So if somebody is going to apply for one of the properties that I manage, the established criteria across the board that does not violate fair housing laws, is just straight across the board, no matter who you are. The minimum requirement for credit and income qualification is a 650 credit score, and income needs to be 2.5 times higher than the monthly rent amount. As an example, if the rent is $1,000, the applicant must document, they must provide with their application verifiable income, gross monthly income, stable monthly income of $2,500, because $2,500 is 2.5 times the monthly rent amount, and they need to have a 650 credit score. So it's a double requirement, not a either or. And so if somebody does not meet the minimum requirements right off the bat, they are not qualified. They are disqualified, and you can simply decline an applicant based on that criteria in and of itself. Now, in a strong rental market where there's a bigger pool of quality tenants than there's availability of housing, or if there's a shortage of housing, and you are priced properly, I will emphasize that part, you are set at the right market price based on what the market will bear. And if $1,000 is the rent and that's attractive, it's in line with what the market is, you could set those requirements and you will likely get that apartment or that house filled. Again, this is California law, California real estate. Your area may be different. So if you get enough quality applicants at your rental amount, set that credit criteria, and if everything goes well, you get the credit profile of the tenant who you're looking for. Somebody who has stable income, verifiable credit history, verifiable rental references or housing payment history. And if you meet those, then it automatically weeds out, it disqualifies anybody who has bad credit, horrible credit, recently evicted, and it'll help you focus on the higher quality from a credit profile, from a financial profile, higher quality tenants. I'm not talking about personality here or lifestyles, but generally people who are more qualified and more responsible and more stable are going to have better credit scores, stronger credit history, and they have their stuff together. So it is at that point when an applicant, somebody who's interested in renting your property, if they don't meet those requirements, those minimum requirements in one or both areas, either the income side or the credit history side, there may be a good quality personality tenant, a good, clean, responsible person who just does not have that credit history yet. They just don't have that income profile yet. And an example, and I'm not going to make it exclusive or pigeonhole anybody, but an example would be a young person or a young couple. Maybe they're 19-year-old, they're adults now, but they don't have the established employment and income and established credit history. They just haven't been around long enough. You could have an 18-year-old legal adult who's still living with parents, wants to go out on his own or her own, so they don't have a rental history. They don't have a 700 credit score. They might. I've seen plenty of young people who, got their stuff together. Parents add them to a credit card, so they start building credit early, and that's all good. But you may have somebody who's just younger and they don't meet those requirements, so they might have, which is typical, have a parent be the cosigner guarantor. So maybe mom or dad is an attorney. They make six-figure income, 750 credit scores, 800 credit scores, $100,000 in the bank, well established, 20 years. I don't know, an attorney, professional, doctor, whatever. They own their own home. The parents themselves are overqualified for that rental, but they're willing to be financially responsible and guarantee the rent payments and secure damages in case the applicant, the tenant, screws up. So you do not need to accept cosigners. It is a decision. Again, depending on the housing market, the rental market at that time, it will make, one, it could influence your decision, and then secondly, for example, if you can't get this place rented and 10 people, 20 people came through and looked at it, and everybody who came by does not meet that credit requirement or that income requirement, and you're just having a hard time fill it, time is money. So you might say, okay, either I need to lower the rent price so that the quality tenant, that profile tenant is able to qualify and likes this place, because they're obviously not renting this one, they're going somewhere else. Then that is a conscious decision. So you may want to lower the rent amount, which is fine. Or other than lowering the rent amount, then you could open up or loosen up your credit standards. Okay, make it easier for people to qualify. That will be a decision that only you alone can make. However, if you set that income and credit criteria, you did it for a reason. You want that quality tenant, so you might be better off lowering the rent a little bit to get somebody who's qualified to that credit and income standards. It's not the perfect solution, but it is an option. The other thing you could do is allow a cosigner. It's like, okay, now you're going to bring in mom or dad, and they're going to sign for this. They're overqualified, proof of income, proof of assets, you name it, done deal. And in doing so, you rent the place quicker. You not only have, Jimmy, the 19, 20-year-old tenant living in the place, but now you have both parents or one of the parents who are on the application, and they are guaranteeing the performance of that lease and financially guaranteeing everything. And that's fully enforceable. You could take them to court and collection and whatnot. So there's the benefit to doing that. The downside, the con, if you like Jimmy, he seems responsible, you met his girlfriend, or maybe it's a couple, I don't know, and you like them, you know that they have a full-time job, plus they're going to school, they're getting their life together, they seem clean, respectful, and they have a good future ahead of them, and you want to help out, great. In doing so, the minute you involve a parent, you're not only dealing with your tenant anymore, now you're dealing with the parents. The parents have been around longer, they've been around the block, they might know it all, they might know more than you about real estate and landlording, or they might think they know it all, and you might get some very difficult parents to deal with, and it sucks, because now you have an agreement and you have a good communication with Jamie, and he's good, and you like him, but the moment you post a late charge or a notice, or you get on his case because he's not taking care of the property, when it's him alone, you deal directly with him. When the parents are involved, now you're dealing with the parents. You charge late fees, they could fight you, they could make it harder for you to enforce the terms of your lease. Obviously, everything is within boundaries, within your legal rights, but they can make it more difficult, where you have to do a lot more explaining, a lot more communicating, which you may have been able to just with a handshake and a courtesy notice, or just a phone call, get Jimmy back in line. Take care of the place. You can't have this person staying here. You can't park in this area. You can't have the loud music, etc. So parents could either work on your side, which I've seen a lot of times, like, oh, sorry, they're kids, they screwed up, they shouldn't have partied, they shouldn't have the weed. I'll talk to them, I'll get them straight. The other one's like, oh no, my kid does not ever do that. He doesn't drink, he doesn't have this. And now they're defensive, now they're working against you. And now you have to deal with two people, potentially. This is just my experience in the past 5 years dealing with multiple properties and multiple co-signers. And I've dealt with homes where you have 5 residents, so 5 tenants plus 5 co-signers, 10 people on a lease agreement, 5 separate young adults, each one of them with a parent who knows it all. Fun stuff, trust me. Sarcasm. So there's that option. And then the third option, if you're borderline, let's say you have somebody who really loves your rental unit, they want to move in, they have the money, they have the employment, they want to take in, you want to rent it to them, you do the screening, you check their income, you check their credit, and they just don't quite make it. They're just shy. Let's say maybe they have a 620 credit score, younger, 19, 20, 21-year-old person, or just somebody who is recovering and rebuilding their credit history. Life happens. I understand. I totally get that. So maybe somebody's on the the financial recovery and they have a 620 credit score, and instead of making 2.5 times the monthly rent, well, maybe let's compensate one or the other. They have 3 times the monthly rent, so they make really strong income, but their credit score just doesn't make it. Then you could make an exception on that one. They've proven their employment, their source of income, it's stable, they make more than enough, they make higher than your income requirement, but the credit score is a little bit low. Then you might just make an exception and approve them as is. Or what you could do is, because they do not meet your credit income requirement, you could request a higher security deposit. So what that does is it offsets your risk. It's a compensating factor. It will offset the credit risk because they don't have the financial profile that you're looking for. You could still extend an offer, which is sort of a counter offer. Listen, Jimmy, I could have declined you right off the bat because you do not make the credit income requirement. However, I can give you alternative terms. Because of the credit history, it's the lack of credit history or the poor credit history, it is a higher credit risk. Therefore, I need a higher security deposit. Now, the maximum security deposit you could collect up front, if the place is unfurnished, vacant, unfurnished unit, it's equal to 2 times the monthly rent. So if your rent amount is $1,000, you could request a $2,000 security deposit up front plus the first month's rent. If the rental unit is fully furnished, a fully furnished rental, then you could request a security deposit up to 3 times the monthly rent amount. So in this case, you could ask for $3,000 as a security deposit plus $1,000 for the first month's rent, which would be a $4,000 move-in. So that is certainly an option as an alternative to getting a cosigner involved. If you feel good about them and they're pretty close on their qualifications. If they are, if they don't meet the credit, they don't meet the income, and they're just shy, maybe they're a 640 credit score and they only make 2.3 times the income, and you need to be at 2.5. They're close. Just use your judgment. You might be willing to take a risk on someone because the gut most often does not lie. If you have a good gut feeling about them, the initial gut reaction, whether it be good or bad, and whether they're highly qualified or they're not on paper, gut reaction, sometimes you will get, unfortunately. And I will say you cannot disqualify somebody if they meet the requirements, but sometimes you'll get somebody who is very well qualified, if not overqualified, and you just get a gut feeling about them, and might turn out that they're not very pleasant people and they're not fun to work with, and you wish you maybe didn't rent to them. But again, fair housing laws, get familiar with them so you know what you can and cannot disqualify people for, and I'm sure I'll talk more about those in future videos. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you're enjoying these videos, getting information and good valuable content. If you'd like to receive future videos, you could subscribe or click the little bell icon if you're watching this on YouTube. This is Chris Sanchez, Sonoma Views, many more to come. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.